Night out on the town, $75.
So, how about a blowjob?
Getting the nerve to ask such a question? $12 bottle of wine.
Are you crazy? My parents might see.
Come on, who's gonna see us at this hour? I'll return the favor.
Wait, can you imagine if we got caught? Oh my God, what my dad would do to you.
There's nobody around. Everybody's asleep.
No way, it's way too risky.
Please. I love you so much.
Actually using a line like that? Another $12 bottle of wine.
I just can't.
Please?
Dad says to go ahead and give him a blowjob. Or I can do it. Or if need be, he'll come down himself and do it. But for God's sake, tell him to take his hand off the intercom.
Having a girlfriend whose father has a sense of humor? Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's master.
Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 2 of the Biel Chess Festival, the 47th edition. Currently being played. White is Pantala Harikrishna from India, and black is Giri, currently living in the Netherlands. These are both players that are over 2,700. They're world-class players. And we're going to play the Gucko piano, which my buddy, the Backyard Professor, that does chess videos on another channel here on YouTube, went over not too long ago. So they're still playing this ancient opening at the world-class level still. I'd leave a note for Carrie Schertz, who's the Backyard Professor, but unfortunately, YouTube screwed around with the fact that you can't leave private messages for anybody anymore. Oh well. So if anybody can get a message to Carrie or leave a message on one of his videos that he knows about this so he can watch it, please do. Anyway, enough of my ramblings. It's going to be a Gucko piano. And as you can see here, the two bishops and the knights represent the Gucko piano. Knight c3, knight f6, d3, pretty standard stuff. d6, bishop g5. Now I've got the Fritz computer on off screen. It's a tiny advantage for white. Excuse me, h6. We'll go back and forth with this a lot. Do you go bishop to h4? Then he's going to push, and then you come back, and he'll castle queenside. The theory right now says bishop takes, and that's what he does. Then queen takes. Now, they said, well, you just gave him a tempo, blah, blah, blah. Not really. You really didn't give him a tempo. Knight to d5, hitting the queen, and that's part of the problem. Now you have to guard the c7 pawn. He didn't want to disrupt his pawns by taking with the g-pawns for duck with the queen, so now he has to come back. So that tempo wasn't really gained by black. c3, putting more pressure on this square here. So now you have the pawn, the knight, and the queen. a6, d4, e takes, c takes, and bishop comes back to a7. Now that's a great, excuse me, center by white. But you got to remember also, when you have control like that, you're going to be attacked down the road. Let's see how it works out for black. Rook to c1. Semi-open file. The only one that white has? Sure, that's where the rook goes. Black castles. Now he plays bishop takes a6. Interesting move indeed. What to do, what to do? Well, the computer off screen says rook to e8 for black. Now it's switching back and forth between bishop takes d4. Black went rook e8, which is a really, really good move. I like that actually better, because now the rook is right on the king. This pawn can't take. That knight ever gets taken, and the king's just too vulnerable. So white castles just to get out of there. So now rook takes, and now the computer's showing that black's ganging up on the d4 pawn. Pretty funny. It says the pressure grows on d4. No kidding. Bishop d3 to kick the rook. Rook goes back to e8 and bishop b5. Computer calls for bishop to e6. Now, I kind of like that move for a couple of reasons. One, it hits the knight, and two, it develops a piece. But Harikrishna decided to go, well, he did go bishop b6, excuse me. I thought he didn't. I went over this game earlier, and I don't remember that move, but oh well. Good move. Knight to e3. Now, white's got a isolated d-pawn, as we can see here. And if you're worried about isolated pawns, according to Victor Korchnoi, an old world-class player, then give up chess. Not as good it would have been bishop takes, because after pawn takes, knight to e3, c5. Pretty good for black. Not outstanding, but 2/3 of a pawn anyway. After knight to e3, bishop d7, just to stop that take from doubling up his pawns. Knight to d5. White's got a pretty good active position here, to be honest with you. Like I said, even with an active position, white, I think, has let it slip a little bit. It's basically even now in the computer. Now, it's very tricky. Black does have the bishop pair. Knights for white are in an interesting spot. Black seems a little backed up, a little cramped. White seems to have all the open space for maneuvering. I like white here, frankly, but not by much. Bishop e6, knight to e3, bishop d7 to go back. That's a twofold repetition, by the way. Not as good it would have been bishop takes a2, because after b3, rook takes f3, and that's a little bit better for white. That bishop's in a bad spot. Bishop d7, bishop c4. Going right on his king. I like that move a lot. Putting pressure on the f7 pawn. Rook to f8 makes him move the rook off the file to protect the pawn. And that can only be good news for white. Rook to e1, now he grabs that file. Knight to e7. Queen to d3. We're going to see how that works out, but I think eventually white's going to want to put pressure on this file here. c6, and that pretty much helps. It blocks that bishop off, but it takes the pressure off the file. Bishop b3, he moves right off, of course, and then b5. h3, he wants to cover this square here. Stop the bishop from going there in the future. Bishop b6. Hitting the d4, leaving the file open, the a file for the rook, and keeping the pressure on the d4 pawn. Bishop c2. f5. Now that's a really daring move there. Let's go back a little bit. I'm looking at the computer off screen. And f5 is the second choice. The first choice is knight to g6, which frankly I like a lot because it, well, as you can see, of course, he's threatening mate here. But that also blocks that mate at the same time, gets that knight in a really good spot. But he decided to go f5 instead. Excuse me, g4, g6, pawn takes, knight takes. Now you see there's no pawns on either side of the knight here to chase him off. And if knight takes, bishop takes. And when the queen moves, trades off the light squared bishop, which would be great for black at this point. Knight takes. I like bishop takes. Queen to b3 check is a pain in the neck, but even still, I like it. But he decided to go g takes. Bishop checks. King h7, bishop e6. Now he's hitting the f5 pawn. Rook f6, hitting the bishop. D5, excuse me, C takes, bishop takes. Interesting, interesting. Tiny advantage for white. They both have open kings. It's a toss-up here, folks, which side I take, to be honest with you. Rook to G6, check. King moves off to H1. Rook to C8. Rook to C8 is the computer's choice, but I don't know. That's a tough call. Rook takes, queen takes. Knight to D4. Now he's getting up on the isolated pawn of black on B5. Queen F8. Just to guard his isolated pawn in F5. Knight E6. What to do, what to do. This is a strange position, to be sure. Computer's first move is bishop takes E6. Then bishop takes and bishop takes F2. Black decided to go queen to F6. Now he's shredding the pawn on B2. What does White's respond? It's queen to F3. Now there's some toss-up moves here, to be sure. What to do, what to do. And it's funny when you go over games like this with a computer, like I am off screen, and they show 2 or 3 choices, and they're all within close in score. That's what makes these games hard. There's no clear, obvious move. Sometimes it's just a natural move and ends up being a disaster. Black decided to go rook to G8. Okay. I like knight F4. I like that move. Putting the knight in a little better spot. Now this is where Giri stumbles. And I'll be perfectly frank, it looks like a very natural move. Rook to C8. Bang! This is what he didn't see. I mean, there's the top 3 moves for white. One is mate in 22, one's almost 15 points, and one is 8. He takes the lowest one, queen to H5. Black should have gone rook to G5 instead. That would have been his savior. Instead, after queen to H5, to give you the better move for Harikrishna was G3. And we'll go through that scenario. Bishop, rook takes, rook to C1, king H2, and so on, and so on. I mean, you're getting killed here. I mean, it's over. I won't go even continue. You're up 2 pieces and a rook. After queen to H5, bishop to D8. Now he's panicking, I think. Rook to G8 was his last hope, frankly. That after bishop takes, king takes. It's still real bad. I mean, it's like the difference between getting poked in the eye with a sharp stick or a dull stick. Of course, I'll take the dull stick, but I don't have to like it. Bishop to D8, rook to G1, in comes the heavy artillery. You got the bishop bearing down, the knight's right here, queen, rook, I mean everything. And this poor rook here, totally out of play. Bishop to E7, and rook to G6. And that's, of course, where Giri resigns. Miscued at the end. And it's funny, he miscued on move 38. Now, watching enough Giri games to know, I'm sure he was in time trouble. Now, Harikrishna gets in time trouble a lot too, but I think Anish was probably on seconds. That's my guess. He blundered on move 38, and that cost him the game. Give you an idea what would have happened after rook. Check, king, queen F8, check, king, bishop E6, king H7, bishop takes. You're already a piece up here. Rook takes, rook C5. You get the idea. You're 2 pieces up. There's no point continuing. Tough break for Anish. Well done in the end. Just before the time control by Harikrishna. Anyway, folks, that's the game from round 2 of the 47th Biel Chess Festival. I would appreciate it, all you guys out there that like my videos, if you'd please subscribe. That would be awesome. And also click the like button. And what I always say at the end of my videos, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.